control freaks.
And the disturbing part is, no matter how much good information we put out, I put out this film as a cohesive understanding of Obama's life history from his tutelage from his real father, Frank Marshall Davis, through his relationship with the Bill Ayers and the Ayers family. And we can't get the media to cover it. So I told you a couple weeks ago that I was going to announce a way to reach everybody in America since they would not cover this important story. So now I'm going to tell you what it is. We are mailing, we've secured funding to mail, starting, it's already in the process, starting 2 weeks from today, we're going to mail a free copy of a couple 100,000 DVDs to addresses in Ohio and Virginia. That's starting in a few weeks. And from there, we're going to expand across all the United States as much as we can, depending on the funding we get. And that way, there'll be a grassroots knowledge of this story. People can really see what Obama's real deadly Marxist agenda is for America and how it will really affect the middle class. And it's nothing about helping them. It's about eliminating them.
Hey, what about mailing 10,000 to Congress? That would be effective as well.
Well, I was on Capitol Hill last week, and I dropped several copies amongst sympathetic, hopefully, members of Congress. But generally, they're afraid to talk about it. A lot of the mainstream media say, we've seen the film, we agree with you, this is shocking, this is blockbuster, but we're afraid, And I said, look, we're going to send out hundreds of thousands of copies. And they said, well, once people talk about it more, then maybe we can talk about it. So I appreciate you, Alex, that you're unafraid.
Well, it is important for people to hit the barbed wire first so others can follow the trailblazers like yourself. And, you know, more and more the media is starting to report on a lot of the things that are happening, like Fast and Furious and other areas. But, you know, the fact is Obama has been caught lying about his past a bunch, so no one can then criticize us if we start investigating it deeper. I want to go to some phone calls, but I wanted to ask you, what else has come out new other than the doctored photos you found on their Facebook on Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Obama, whatever his real name is, I guess Barack Hussein Davis. President Davis. What else have you learned? What type of backlash have you experienced?
I haven't gotten much backlash because mainstream media wants to ignore me, though Media Matters has written a couple of nasty articles the last few days.
Nobody reads George Soros' publication, yeah.
Yeah, I did receive hundreds of emails from concerned Americans. One was very touching. It was from a Vietnam veteran. He said to me, we're on the verge of losing the Constitution. Freedom and liberty are in jeopardy. As a Vietnam veteran, I ask, what did I fight for? That's what he emailed me. So I'm very encouraged by a number of people that have written in and said, can you please share this with millions so we can get the message out about what's really happening to the government and what Obama's real political foundation is. I think I've proven in my film that his political foundation is in a Stalinist version of Marxism. And that's why he showed up, admittedly, at Occidental College at 18 years old as a committed revolutionary Marxist, in his own words. And he's been pursuing the dreams from his real father, Frank Marshall Davis, his entire life.
Now, it's great to mail this out to 200,000 people in key states to get coverage. But if people want to air this on Access TV, I guess they just email you to get permission?
Correct.
Okay. Let's go to some calls. Most of them are for you, Joe, Colin, Jesse, Mark, and others. But Corey's been holding since the last hour, or the start of this hour, from Colorado on the shooting. Let's get his take real quick on that event. Very fortuitous for Obama. We have top Obama advisors, not one, not two, not three, but four, in an article titled Democratic Operatives Urge Obama to Seize on Attacks. That's a good headline by Paul Watson, Alex Jones, but I think I may change the headline to Democratic Operatives, tell Obama attacks will help him, or something like that, because that's really what it says. It's amazing information. I'm now talking to journalists. I've been blamed by Tom Hartman, basically, that it's my fault things are happening. And I guess wherever they're on the radio. And then I guess I've also, Rush Limbaugh's been blamed, by NBC. They said, talk show hosts like that. And they hearken back to Clinton after Oklahoma City blaming people. So this is a very, very dangerous situation. Corey in Colorado, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. I've been a fan of yours for about 8 or 9 years. I've I've bought all your videos.
Well, thank you.
I wanted to tell you something that I think is kind of important. Years ago in that tech shooting, you were gone that day, and I drove home, saw the flags were half-staffed, and I came to my office, I turned your show on, and the other gentleman was there, and you were gone. And they put us on the air live, and those kids, as you know, were being shot at. They were listening to your show. We were telling them to run from the black ops, that they were not there to protect them. And at that particular time, I was a personal friend with a black op. He was running for his life because he left the black ops, and they wanted him to go do a mission, and he refused to do it. So he was in hiding. He was calling me from all over the country and all over the world in hiding. But right after that tech shooting, and I was on live on the air on your show exposing that, within 45 days, a black op helicopter came over to my house and flew right above my house, and I could see the pilot's face.
Well, ma'am, a lot of that is they fly around with infrared cameras and grids looking for marijuana growing, and it's wrong to have the Department of Defense doing that. But just because a helicopter flies over your house does not mean they're coming to get you. But I appreciate your call. Let's go ahead and talk to now the first caller holding, listening on 90.1 FM in Austin, Texas. Mark, you're on the air with the director of Dreams of My Real Father, Joel Gilbert. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Well, Joel, let me tell you that I ordered your movie through InfoWarsStore.com or what have you with the address, and I loved it. It was perfect. Did a very great job, and I felt like a fat kid trapped in a cake factory, you know what I mean? It was just one of those things where I couldn't stop watching, and I've been working for years on getting my fiance to wake up, and she finally woke up after this movie.
Yeah, it's chillingly convincing, to quote my dad, because my dad came over and got one like a month ago when we first started selling it, early before it even came out officially, and he said, I want to see this, and I saw him a few days later. He was out visiting with his grandchildren, and I said, well, what'd you think of it? He says, chillingly convincing, and I said, ooh, that's a good quote, chillingly convincing. Do you have any questions for Joel Gilbert?
Yeah, one thing about the whole fake documents issue, I think you're just being a tad bit naive on that, because even the most corrupt president always has very expert, Photoshop people at his disposal. I think the reason they're doing that is because, and Alex, I'd like your comments on this after I ask, I'll hang up and listen, but I think that he's doing it because of the whole, we have to show you what we're doing before we do it to you issue. Everything has to be laid out. You have to have signed off on all of it, and they're just making it obvious, and they're rubbing it in our faces.
Well, I don't agree. I think it's very hard to forge documents and keep the loyalty of a person who would go to jail for forgery. That has to be someone very close to you. So I wouldn't think it's any more complicated than simply Obama puts out these documents like the mysterious hand of Frank Marshall Davis that they accidentally left in the photo with Ann Dunham, who they photoshopped in. So I think it's a pattern of document forgery to hide Frank Marshall Davis by amateurs.
Well, Joel, let me raise this point. I've talked to a lot of retired, pretty famous intelligence operatives. One of them's Dr. Steve Pachinik, and he said, you don't have to worry too much about them killing you, though you've exposed this bin Laden hoax. And so he said they might come after you for that, because he said he got a lot of current and former British MI6, Mossad, and U.S. intelligence called up, basically, getting in his face about it when he came on and said that whole thing was fake. He said it years ago on the show and said they would do it later. But the point is he explained they like to get big committees in NATO and the UN to agree. So everyone votes, and then everybody has plausible deniability for murders and crimes. That's why Obama wants this authorization to kill U.S. citizens from Congress secretly. He can then say, well, I have a law, NDAA. And so there's a lot of paperwork involved. You don't just go to one of these, sure, they'll create fake documents for agents to infiltrate countries, but when it's the president, the blackmail power of that, and especially when you're not trusted in agencies of government, because there's a lot of good people in there, you've got to go to your wife. You've got to, I know Corsi thinks he knows who's doing it. Do you guys have any idea? Because Corsi hasn't said so far.
I haven't been researching that. I know that the sheriff's office in Phoenix has a person of interest as to who's been forging these documents. But it's been a pattern of forgery, a pattern of intimidation that I see by Obama, intimidating the Supreme Court, trying to engage in all kinds of anti-democratic behavior that's typical of the Marxist worldview to impose a type of Stalinist, Marxist agenda upon the middle class.
You mean a North Korean heaven?
North Korea, East Germany, this is what...
Because, I mean, wait a minute. I mean, I'm going to challenge you. Obama said if you have a business, you didn't build it. You didn't make your film, Joel, and I'm not doing this radio show. The government's doing this show right now. Of course, we shouldn't joke. They've got EAS taking over radio more and more. I mean, thank God for government. Joel Gilbert is our guest. Joel, the way Mitt Romney's acting when Obama calls him a criminal, Romney doesn't respond with, hey, you ran fast and furious. Romney is just floundering around. People say, well, he's the lesser of two evils. More and more, I think Romney may be a ringer. If not consciously, his handlers are. Now Rupert Murdoch is endorsing gun control. So is Bill Kristol. So now if I'm not for turning my guns in, I'm a liberal now. I mean, in the new world, you're a liberal if you're not for communism. You're a good conservative if you're for turning your guns in.
Well, it's amazing how you talk about Rupert Murdoch. I had my run-in with Newsmax.com. So some of these news outlets that we think are conservative and we look to them to shed some light on things are kind of capitulating to the Obama, David Axelrod agenda out of some kind of fear. Newsmax pulled my ad campaign. I had paid for a banner ad campaign when my film first came out. They pulled it right 5 minutes before it ran, and I said, why did you pull the ad? They said, well, we're trying to move to the center. So the amount of fear out there is just incredible, and the capitulation to the agenda that Obama and Axelrod are setting is just mind-boggling. I visited Russia 25 years ago when I was a student. I visited families of the refuseniks that were trying to leave Russia for 1 week. It was an amazing experience. You would see how there was no food in the stores. I would ask people, how come there's no food? How come there's nothing to buy in the stores? And they would say, well, in communism, you have to be at work 8 hours a day, but you don't have to actually work. You just have to be at work. So I saw the economic disaster, the physical disaster.
The heavenly... Come on, are you a conspiracy theorist? Are you about to tell me that North Korea isn't the heaven of earth?
This was no socialist utopia. This was hell on earth, was Marxism and communism. And I experienced it, and everybody was afraid to talk. I would ask questions. They'd say, well, we have to go over here. We can't talk in public. I am just very disturbed that...
Well, you got to have a permit to talk in public. Come on.
Well, this is what's happening here. The media is afraid to talk. I'm just shocked at the parallel to what I saw in communist Russia in the 80s when I was there for a week.
Well, you're just a bad person. You don't recognize freedom when you see it. Let's talk to Jesse in New Orleans. You're on the air with an extremist who doesn't like Stalin. Welcome, Jesse.
How's it going, Alex?
Good.
I've called you a lot in the past, and it always seems to be about something that's big going on, and it just so happens Obama is going to be coming down here to New Orleans tomorrow or tonight, and his entourage is staying at our hotels. He's going to be at the Lowe's, and I'm trying to get together a group of people to go down there and bullhorn him about the UN weapons ban treaty. And,
well, you know, if somebody makes a bet at that hotel, they didn't do it. Or if somebody fries an egg for the president, they didn't fry it. Government did it. You're going to be near the fount of creation today. Are you preparing to bow?
Oh, I've got my knee pads ready for the groveling.
Well, you're talking to the guy that makes it all happen there. I tell you, the grass is going to grow faster when he's in town. So what time are you planning on talking badly with a bullhorn to our gracious leader?
I was looking to get together probably around 6 o'clock. I'm not really sure right now because I just got all the information together about where he was going to be. But I'm trying to get all my friends together, and I just posted it on Planet Infowars to try and get some more people to join us.
Good. What's the name of your group at planetinfowars.com?
Infowars NOLA.
Infowars NOAA?
OLA.